think sometimes we oversimplify, sometimes we overcomplicate. So we have to find, I guess, that spot in the middle, that uncomfortable spot where you can go either directions, this way or that way. Some people would just rather be on one side and be done with it, but that's probably not best. But should we rely more on government or less? Should you rely more on yourself or less? It doesn't have all easy answers, but that has to be considered. And if you're going to let people decide for you, who are those people? Why do you accept them? Why do you reject these other people? Maybe you should just make your own choices. At least they're your choices.
The year I graduated from high school, and I voted for Hillary because I was politically misinformed. And I was thinking to myself, I remember the night of the election when they called her for Trump. I'm asking all of my fraternity brothers and people around us, how did this happen? Oh my God, did you guys vote? Did you vote? No, no. Oh my God, this is really terrible. Trump goes on to do things that on the face to me as an objective observer thought, okay, this is pretty good. And then I turn to the mainstream media and they're saying Trump did something completely different.
Mhm.
And just the blatant lying turned me into a Trump supporter just
Me
out of
too.
spite
Yeah.
immediately.
Just like that.
Out of spite.
Yeah.
And I witnessed at a systemic level in the colleges, I spent time in the business school and also in arts and sciences. And business school aside, in arts and sciences, I found that if I did not take a left wing position in any of my studies, I would get a bad grade on my papers.
Yeah.
So I wrote everything as if I was a rote leftist.
Yeah.
And I got flying colors.
Yep. Yeah.
And, I think this was a symptom, and maybe you can speak to this because this is more of your time frame as a older, younger gentleman, that the Cold War never really ended.
Yeah.
In my mind, from what I've researched, the Soviets sent their Marxist operatives over to America to corrupt the education system and indoctrinate the children to teach them what to think and not how to think.
Well, I think that's you're right, but I don't want to. It's not like they were the first people to think of that. That's what Hitler did. Um, and yeah, I'm of a time when we said the Pledge of Allegiance in class, and God bless me as I was, and the Lord's Prayer both.
Mm.
And I'm thinking to myself, standing there, I pledge allegiance to the flag. I said, seriously, I'm an 8-year-old. I said, seriously, that's a pledge. Saying the words every morning. So I wrote, what kind of a pledge is that? So, um, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. If anybody's listening and say, "Oh, that can't be true," of course it's true. Does that explain everything? Is it really that simple? No. Um, but yeah, the when was there ever not been indoctrination in education? That might be a better question because there has to be a bias at the very least. Um,
I think it was a contagion effect through academia, which was inspired by the Marxists that were sent over.
yeah, well, let me stop you there for a minute. Think about academia ever. Think about any of the great academic whatever, Rousseau or Locke or I'm trying to back up farther than that. Martin Luther, Lenin. They're all academics who went against the system, challenged the status quo. And my theory is they do that not because of what the system is, but just that it is the system, and they're just natural born rabble rousers. That part of it I respect, but some of them are deadly rabble rousers. They tend to be not too bright. There's the downside of that, but
Mhm.
well, I'll just name some very brilliant people, but tend to not be too bright. Um, so what I'm getting at, as you talk about the Cold War and the indoctrination through 50s, 60s, and on up,
Mhm.
yeah, it's true, but it's not unique, not by a long shot. So, um,
Well, I think they were imitating what happened in the East with that type of
yeah, yeah,
theory. I mean,
yeah.
if you talk about Lenin and Hegel and Marx,
And Mao,
right,
yeah,
which is the 50 Shades of Grey that is Marxism.
yeah.
They taught that. I think, okay, let me back up a little bit. There are a lot of kids that through their teen, young adult angst had a lot of anger towards the system for a lot of reasons that we would share with them.
Hmm.
They didn't know why they should, but they had it. And what the Soviets did, or not the Soviets per se, but the Marxist indoctrinators did was showed them the way to critical theory, which is the Hegelian, thought process, which is criticize your systems, your governments, your economic uh, theories into oblivion. And they thought, yeah, we're actually getting somewhere with this. This is progress. What they didn't realize is actually regress. That's why I call the progressives the regressives.
Yeah.
And I think this, it stands to today, till today. And that mainstream media capture that you were alluding to before, it became self-evident. And, they were reinforcing this this Marxist praxis of critical theory,
Mm.
saying, yeah, we have to take care of these people and we have to criticize the system because it's so inherently corrupt. And they're throwing the baby out with bathwater. And when people came to realize, oh, these people are lying to me and I'm getting worse outcomes for my family. The price of eggs are going up.
Yeah.
Butter's
Oh,
$7 a pack.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I should stop criticizing so much
Yeah.
and I should actually do my own research. And now that people are doing their own research are saying,
Well, again, I say the internet gives you that much more of an opportunity, to do that. Yeah, I had a thought that kind of flashed in my head because I thought it many times, and it relates to what you said. I was a teacher.
wow.
Um, I was a science teacher, and I did not like teaching science as a bunch of things to memorize. I wouldn't teach anything as a bunch of things to memorize. So I didn't teach earth science as memorize this group of rocks or that kind of cloud. I mean, I did actually have to do that, but I didn't just, that's it. Okay, you can name that cloud.
If you want to know what the weather is, you got to.
But I wanted them to understand the processes. I want them to have ideas of their own, even if they were bad ideas. They were an idea. What about this? Does that work? And why? Um, I wanted them to be curious, and I wanted them to attempt to satisfy their curiosity, and not just be a bunch of memorizers.
Mhm.
And in fact, uh, given that a lot of the students were memorizers, they tended to get good grades by just memorizing whatever they're supposed to memorize. They didn't have to understand it, they just memorize it. This word goes with this definition. Don't know what any of it means, but I know that word goes with that definition. They memorize them. And I challenge kids on that because before a quiz, like they'd look at the glossary. Is a good definition of a sedimentary rock, and then read out the glossary. And I'd say, what did that mean?
Mhm.
Huh? There's no vocabulary in there they didn't even understand. What does that mean? Oh, but is it right? So I would try to short circuit them. I would never give the same definition the same way twice. Every time I talk about sedimentary rock, I flipped it, this way and that. So you had to see it from all directions and never had one thing you could memorize. I'm getting long-winded, but the point was there are what I call the definition memorizers. Their idea of knowledge and comprehension is to memorize stuff. They have no freaking clue what it means,
Right.
and that's progressives.
Right. Well, and to your point, they were indoctrinated in believing that the ends, which they thought were good, this utopian vision for the future, was righteous to pursue.
Yeah.
So they memorized all of these, yes, talking points
Right.
and neologisms that are ever evolving. With people ask for with the definition of woke, and mainstream media figurines say, "Oh, you can't define what woke is. You have no idea." I define wokeness. I think this is probably the best definition, which is a moving definition, which is the cult-like adherence to whatever
Yeah.
the Democratic Party's initiatives
Yeah.
of the day are.
Yeah.
And I'll give it to these kids, these memorizers, that they did have good intentions in their pursuit
Oh
of this
yeah. I'm
focus.
sure they're
But
yeah.
as one of the good philosophers, which I don't remember which one it was, said, the road to hell is paved with good
Good
intentions.
intentions. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I actually mentioned a cult. I've been calling the progressive movement a cult for years and years. Not the only cult in the world, but one of them. And as we watch as of today, or within the last day or two, you see all these progressives being advised to dissociate with their families at Thanksgiving. Anybody who voted for Trump, reject them, have nothing to do with them, divorce them,
Yeah.
whatever. And that's what cult leaders do.
Hmm.
They want to get the cult followers, their subjects, pulled away from their family.
Hmm.
Uh, they're doing exactly that. And when some Jim Jones or somebody does that, you say, "Oh my God, we got to stop that." And how could those people be so foolish anyway? And here they're doing it right in front of us, right there, through the TV set. Don't have anything to do with those Trump supporters that voted for them. They're horrible people. Don't talk to them. Don't listen to them. Have nothing to do with them.
Yep.
But that's how cultists are. They can believe the most insane things because they've allowed themselves to be indoctrinated little by little by little to the point where
And I think so many true critical thinkers have been captured by this ideology by
well, we say critical thinkers, you're using that with quotes because a critical thinker wouldn't do that.
No, no, no. I think, to be fair, I think critical thinkers can be susceptible to a cult-like adherence to
Well, but then they're not thinking.
They're not, but I think perhaps they get stuck. And I don't want to pathologize too much, but I think they get stuck in thought loops
Yeah, for sure.
that they're critically thinking about, and that they have uh, a intellectual upper hand, and they don't realize that they have a cult-like adherence to something that is inherently on many different issues contradictory, which is why when I debate these people in the public square, I try to find any position that they hold that I know to be contradictory with another position,
which isn't too hard to do.
It's not too hard at all.
Yeah.
But that is the way that we, as proponents of truth and righteousness, go and recapture the critical. Because to your point, there are people that aren't critical thinkers that are useful idiots of the cause. That the cause will sacrifice for the greater good, because to them the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people, and as we've seen in this past election cycle, there are plenty of critical thinkers that we can repatriate. And
I'm sure there are, and I'm sure it's happening because that's why Trump won. And I think we got to forget. And I was going to just bring this up at some point, so this is a good time. Uh, it's funny is I'm not a political activist. I don't know if you really are. Maybe you are. That's fine. I'm only where I'm at is because I have to be self-defense. I'd just rather live my life in the hell with Washington, but you just can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably half the country who doesn't give a crap one way or the other. Yeah, they care how much eggs cost, but they'd rather not have to deal with the people that
You're referring to low propensity voters, for lack of a better term.
Low propensity, yeah, yeah. Apolitical, which
Mhm.
I respect entirely. Um, but that's in the end, when you talk about who's going to win an election, there's all those people out there that they feel like, okay, this time I'm voting because I see I need to.
Mhm.
They're going to go this way, they're going to go that way, depending on what they're seeing. So, people talking about Democrats or this or Republicans or that, and like Republicans have to get those Democrats moved our way, and Democrats have to get Republicans this way.
Mhm.
And all these people are just sitting there in the middle going,
Yeah.
you know, um, and I think, yeah, who are they? Well, there are all kinds of people, so you can't define them exactly. Um,
Yeah.
but I think if you make a certain amount of sense,
Mhm.
uh, I think that's what happened in this election. A lot of people who were just kind of like, not used to paying too much attention, but the more they listened and went, this is horseshit,
Yeah.
I have no problem arguing their principles. If I want it like this, somebody else wants it like that.
Mhm.
I'm not right. I'm not wrong. Neither are they. You discuss what is, what isn't, what could work, what might work, not work. But when you just make arguments that are just stupid, they aren't arguments. They're just assertions.
Yeah.
People who are waving around in the middle who couldn't really care less if they could just live their life, they start listening to that and go, "This is stupid."
Mhm.
A lot of people do that. And it could be a Republican that's saying stupid things, and they'll say every Republican is stupid. And they'll turn around and say that Democrat is stupid. And there's a bunch of people out there like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those people are the most ripe for the picking.
Oh, for sure. And I say picking because if I'm guessing right, they can't be picked, but they can at least be influenced by reason of being reasonable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, these are the critical thinkers that aren't ideologically captured.
yeah, yeah. And I don't say ideologically captured. I think perhaps ideologues, I'll say born. No, I don't know what you could possibly mean, but ideologues are born, not made or
Right.
whatever. Uh, being an ideologue, not all you do is find an ideology, and it's not even that important which one. You just need an ideology to believe in.
Mhm.
But those who aren't a born ideologue, they're going to pay a lot more attention, and they'll go this way one day and that way the next because they're just going with what makes the most sense to them in any given situation. So we think in terms of one of my biggest gripes is, well, black people are like this and white people are like that. Well,
Mhm.
no. Yeah, I think there's a black culture sort of, and there's a white culture sort of. But you think of all the facets and variations of black culture or of white culture. I
Yeah.
think of all the people I know, the white people I can't stand, and the black people I like. The black people remind me of me.
Mhm.
White people I go that I look at and say, "Where the hell did you come from?"
Mhm.
It's idiotic to make anything about black or white. I mean, absolutely idiotic.
Absolutely, and I
Yeah.
think the Hegelians they capitalize
Yeah.
on those distinctions and try to drive a wedge in between people.
Yeah. So you have your Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
You have, I don't know, David Duke. I don't know if he even exists anymore, but okay, David Duke.
Yeah.
Either way, they're freaking idiots.
Hmm.
And they grab a hold of their little cult and hang onto it tight, and everybody else is going, "You're an idiot." So,
It's all forms of a certain hustle.
oh yeah,
And
hustle. The word hustle works here.
yeah,
Yeah.
they prey on uh, people's deficiencies and
Insecurities,
their
insecurities.
insecurities, their animosities.
Mhm.
They amplify those only to use them as political pawns or
Absolutely.
financial pawns
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
to promote their agenda. Yeah.
And another thought is, a lot of these people are lawyers, not all of them. But lawyers are trained to take a side. They're paid to take their entire profession is taking sides.
Yeah.
It's their nature, it's their profession. And I sometimes wonder if some of these lawyers don't even realize that that's not normal. I'm not even saying it's wrong, but it's not normal. Uh, it isn't necessarily productive for anybody except for the lawyers. They make money.
It's funny you making me think of people often postulated left wing people that I know that, a certain candidate runs for Congress or whatever, and they say, oh, what credentials they have? They're not a lawyer. They don't know anything about law. How could they represent us in Congress? And I think to myself, I'd rather have a bunch of Bernie Moreno, used car salesmen running on first principles than a bunch of lawyers in Congress, just making our entire life some litigious escapade.
And I've seen that in my life. That has come a long way from the way the legal profession used to be. It's just, yeah. The word ambulance chaser just means more and more every day. Yeah, no. Why aren't there more plumbers in Congress? Why aren't there more carpenters and farmers? There are, but not a lot.
Sure.
There's probably more lawyers than anything else. Well, of course, they make the law. So no, the people should make the law of all kinds, not the lawyers. And you think about it. If you're sick and really ill, you go to a doctor because he's the expert. But who makes the decision in the end about what's going to happen? You do, not the doctor. So no, I don't want the doctor making the final decision. I want me making the final decision. That comes with the law too.
And it takes a true critical thinker to synthesize the fact that, the experts are experts in any given subject, but you have to weigh for your personal decision making. You have to weigh all of your background and all of your principles and your knowledge and make a final conclusion. I mean, it reminds me of when COVID came around and I went to my doctor's office and my doctor was pressing me defiantly to get the vaccine. And I said, no, I'm not getting it. She says, why?
Did you say you had COVID at that point?
I had gotten it at that point.
Yeah, so you were immune anyway, or had better immunity than people with the vaccine. Yeah,
Right. And she's saying, oh, you have to get it. You have to get it. I said, well, do you know any data on, bears? Do you know any data on young men getting heart conditions from this? She says, oh, no, well, my daughter, she's a statistician. She says it's fine. I said, oh, so you're the expert. And I know you're getting a kickback from Pfizer, Moderna, whoever, to administer this vaccine. And you don't even know, and you're not even an expert on the statistics on, let's say it's even a low probability that I get a vaccine related ailment. You can't even advise me as the expert on what that probability is. You're just going to tell me, oh, it's safe, trust me. Same goes for the climate issue.
Oh Lord, now we need another hour. I was the science teacher, earth science teacher, and if anybody wants to take my word for it, God's sake, if you want to know about climate change, fine, but consult with actual scientists, not friggin' lawyers named Al Gore,
Exactly.
not Sailboat Girl, not Hollywood movies, not Hollywood actors, not politicians, friggin' scientists if you want to know about climate change.
And if you want to challenge their credibility on any of the climate change predictions, go back and see how many predictions made in the past 20 years.
Approximately none of them. Yeah.
Approximately zero. Correct. Oh, this is the hottest year on record. When did we start making those records? Where do we place the thermometer?
I want to tell you this because I was teaching this in the 1970s. So help me God. Al's book had just come out, and the kids, every class, is it true we're headed for the next ice age in 100 years? And I said, based on what? Well, that's what they say. Who said? And I tell them, I said, so I don't know if there's going to be another ice age in 100 years. I have no reason to think there is. Nothing indicates that there is, but I'm not going to presume that I know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what everyone was saying. And then, enough scientists said, that's stupid. So they turned it around. And I've watched it happen for 50 years. 50 full years I've watched this whole climate change develop from the next ice age to global warming. And then when the warming stuff wasn't really holding up too well, then it was climate change. Well, yeah, there's always been climate change. Now everybody's going to panic over climate change. Like just using the term climate change says anything. It says nothing. You know, it's like saying rain. Well, okay, what about rain? Well, we shouldn't have so much rain. Well, it'll probably stop by tomorrow. Uh, saying climate change means nothing.
Yeah, exactly. They went from global cooling, global
Change.
climate change, and the climate change of today is, oh, hurricanes
Yeah,
have
never been a hurricane before.
the
Yeah.
hurricane. Okay, well, let's just steal that. Hurricanes have intensified,
Mhm.
and this is because of climate change. You're telling me that there's more destruction because of hurricanes now than there were 20, 30, 40 years ago? Yeah. No. If you look at the dollar per dollar
Yeah.
damages, it's
Yeah.
actually lower
Yeah, by
than
a
it was
lot.
then.
And there's more stuff for hurricanes to destroy these days by a lot. So there's more stuff, more sitting ducks out there waiting for a hurricane to hit them, and less total damage than there used to be by a lot. We're talking 3%. Yeah, people don't know that. They don't want to know. It gets in the way of what they want to believe. Yeah.
No,
And
because
I was going to say, you mentioned global warming,
yeah,
and on record, which goes back 1880, give or take, which is not a long time, uh, for climate change and stuff. Uh,
yeah,
but you used to hear on the TV the hottest pick a date, the hottest July 7th. This is the hottest July 17th ever. And I was going, yes. I said, no, the hottest July 17th since 1880 in this part of the country. That's all it is. And, oh, gosh.
because in 1880, that's when they started measuring it. But
Depending on where,
well,
yeah.
that was going to be my point, is because they only started measuring it in certain places.
Yeah, yeah, well,
And,
absolutely.
and where they put these
Mhm.
geothermometers
Yeah,
are in metropolitan
yeah,
areas like New York.
yeah,
Yeah, if you have population increases, the houses get hotter because more people are
yeah.
running
Oh,
heat
yeah,
and it
yeah,
rises,
yeah.
and you're artificially
Yeah,
raising
no,
the temperature.
meteorologists have specific specs for where a weather station should go. Not surprisingly, it's not supposed to be within a inhabited area by very much, so it should be
Yeah.
far enough away in a natural setting
Mhm.
to get a reliable temperature. Well, the city starts moving. Next thing you know, this natural setting is in a parking lot.
Exactly.
Absolutely true. And they just keep taking those records like they mean anything anymore.
But why
Uh,
do they do this?
because it works. Yeah, it's getting hotter. Look at this.
Well, but they push these hoaxes, I'll say.
Yeah,
I'll call it a hoax
yeah,
because they want to centralize power
yeah, yeah,
to a small group of elite people
yeah,
who, back to the cult-like adherence, these elites that are pushing, oh, you have to, stop eating cows because they flatulate too much and it causes too much heat. And yet they're going to Davos on private
yeah.
jets
Oh, yeah.
that account for way more. So they're holding these massively contradictory positions.
It is. It's well. That's what's well. Lots of people have said, but what's that especially significant idiot that Hillary wrote her thesis on? What's his name? But he basically says, yeah, create crises, get people panicked, so they'll do whatever you tell them. That's part of the strategy.
Was that Saul Alinsky?
Saul Alinsky, yeah.
Rules for radicals.
Yep, yep. I mean, it's right there in the book. I haven't read the book. I'm not going to, but basically, as I understand it, you read his book. It basically telling you what Hillary's been doing. It's his game plan. But and I was also because I just want to get this out there because talk about breaking records.
Hmm.
So let's say they've kept records from 1880, but yeah, there's more records all the time, but we're measuring this and that. But 1880 is probably when the United States really got serious about keeping weather records.
Hmm.
Um, well, that's 140, less than 150 years ago. Well, don't just think in terms of how short of a time that is in Earth's history, and
Hmm.
climate cycles can last eons essentially. So 150 years, screw
They
that.
do.
Yeah. But the other part, and we've had global warming since the ice started melting from right where we are, about 10, 12,000 years ago. It's been warming.
We've had global warming since the year one.
Well, it goes up, down. No, it's not true. It's always been warming, but depending on whose Bible you're reading, I guess. But what I'm getting at is 150 years, 365 days in a year.
Mhm.
your odds with, you get 365 chances, and if you think record high, record cold, you get 750 something chances every year to break a record out of only 150 data points for each day. If you see what I'm saying, somewhere the odds are, all other things being equal, the likelihood is you'll break records.
I never thought of it.
Yeah, just a statistician would say the likelihood is you will break records at a regular rate because you get so many chances to do it. And it hasn't been that much of a time span, 150 years for it to average out.
Yeah.
I what you call it, a valid sample. It's not really a valid sample.
Correct.
So it's just
Certainly
yeah.
not valid enough to tell a whole country you have to give up what
Yeah.
heats your home,
Yeah.
what powers your
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
what produces all of your goods. I mean, it's
Yeah, and two that you're probably aware of is fracking was evil. It causes earthquake. Well, if I jump up and down out there, I cause an earthquake.
yeah,
The real earthquakes that kill people, they're tectonic shifts. They got nothing to do with fracking.
exactly.
But
They're
fracking,
not drilling that deep.
yeah. But fracking made natural gas incredibly inexpensive,
Mhm.
which drove coal out of the electric, not entirely, but largely drove coal out of the electric generation market. So one of the biggest factors for reducing CO2 emissions from electric generation in the United States
Mhm.
was fracking. It's made the natural gas available. I mean, that is the biggest thing that did anything to reduce CO2 production in this country. The thing that all these idiots said, we can't have fracking, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That is the one, more than anything, is reduce coal consumption and burning and reduce the output of CO2. And these idiots don't even know that, and they don't care. And the other one, there's two of them, nuclear.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Absolutely one of the cleanest, really safest when you really do
That's
figure it all out. Yeah, you don't want to be in the middle of an atomic reaction when it happens, but it's pretty easy to avoid actually.
right.
Uh, it makes so much sense. And people stopped all over that.
Mhm.
Angela Merkel, who was a case in point in Germany,
Oh,
they had nuclear power plants. She went into a panic because Fukushima in Japan, which killed no one,
mhm.
but it was a horrible thing, but it killed no one. She said,
Sure.
"Oh, we got to decommission these nuclear power plants.
Mhm.
They're going to burn gas instead. Good so far." Then Ukraine, and all of a sudden she
Yep.
can't get a hold of Russian gas. They had to resort to burning coal. I think you
Well,
friggin' idiots.
What's funny, I have another point, but what's funny about the Germany thing is they can still access the natural gas from Russia. All they have to do is turn on the tap, but they refuse to.
Oh, okay.
And now people have died from freezing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that's another one. They say, oh, it's global warming, it's killing people because they can't stand the heat. But more people die of excessive cold than excessive heat. If the world was warming significantly, that would save lives. Yeah.
And to that point, global warming is threatening so many populations and so on. Yet people are exponentially lower in the levels of climate related deaths than at any point. I mean, the graph has gone down
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah. Well, lifespans are going up tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as just climate related deaths,
Yeah. No,
they
yeah,
have dropped
yeah,
exponentially. The other thing I was going to say is, yeah, they talk about, oh, all these cars, I'll be driving around with somebody and you'll see a 5-liter V8 Mustang pass by. Like, oh, look at that, environment killing car burning all that gas. And I tell these people, I said, as far as emissions go, pollutants damaging our ozone layer, the exhaust from these cars are like 1 or 2% of the pollutants from cars. Brake pads are 20%. And they use the same on electric cars as they do regular cars.
yeah. Well, now electric cars can have regenerative braking, whichever term is right. I'll give them that. I mean, I'm not knocking
They
them.
don't use it though because it's not as efficient
Well, they'll use it to a degree.
to a degree, but they still have brake.
Oh, yeah, you can't stop a car.
Exactly.
Reasonable amount
They
of
have to
time.
have brake pads.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, they got brake pads. I didn't suggest they don't.
Right. Yeah, it helps.
It helps. Yeah. Uh, but there's a lot to like about electric cars. But again, it's like we were talking about the light bulbs when they just jam them down people's throats.
Oh,
They weren't ready with the charging stations. They didn't have anything thought
Yeah.
out ahead. All these solar panels were going to supply all this electricity. I'm going, are you nuts?
it's so funny because, inflation was at 1.7% when Trump left office.
Mhm.
Inflation spiked because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh, absolutely.
And through that
Democrats are great in whatever they're going to do to you.
Yeah.
They name it the opposite. Yeah,
Exactly.
all this absolutely.
So they
Yeah.
take all this money and they force these automobile companies to produce electric cars.
Yeah.
So let's think about this, Chip. They print $1 trillion artificially injected into the economy, indirectly taxes the American people. Then they give these car companies this money to produce these cars, and they mandate them to. And I look at the balance sheets on the SEC statements for like Ford, for instance. They are losing tens of thousands of dollars per car.
Yeah.
So they're losing money, which causes them to raise the prices on their other cars. So you're getting charged more for that, and your dollars are getting debased at the same time.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah. We were just talking about why are people sort of poorer now than they were when I was a kid. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing the math on what like $5,000 is worth 1960 to now. It's like 80%
Oh,
low.
hell yeah.
I mean, the cumulative rate of inflation over the past 4 years is 25%.
And that's a bunch all at once. But yeah, my first job with you whippersnappers, I'll show you a few things. My first job was $1.25 an hour.
Wow.
I took home in the neighborhood of $40 after taxes. My girlfriend to become my first wife, I don't remember this somehow. She made $1.10 an hour. Wait a minute, I'm making $1.20. She make $1. Sex discrimination. Well, it's legal then. I'm not promoting it, but it was legal then, so she got less. But you could buy a house, a decent house, for $10,000. You could buy a new car for $2,000 or $3,000. And if you maintain parity, I should say, if your paycheck is commensurate with how cheap things are, or if it goes up commensurate with how expensive things are,
Yeah.
you got to keep track of the process of what's going on because, of course, it affects people. But,
Real wages. Yeah.
yeah. But taken by itself, if I got a very little paycheck, but I paid very little for a car, then it might be equivalent. It could, in theory, be equivalent. But there are things that aren't equivalent. Very difficult to buy a house. I mean, you could buy a house then for a lot less of your income, a lot less whatever than you can now.
And unfortunately, I think that's by design. You look at
I think so.
people like Klaus Schwab, the
Oh
leader
my
of the
God.
economic
Yeah.
reform, he says it openly, you will own nothing and it will be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
No, I will own nothing. I'll be pissed off.
oh, absolutely.
I wonder how much he doesn't own,
Exactly.
So, yeah. I think there's something wrong with these people. It's got to be something wrong with them.
Well, I think as Archbishop, whatever his name was, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And these people want absolute power because they think, they're actually, if you read their agendas, they advocate for a 25% world population decrease to solve climate change.
Yeah.
Oh, so you think it's good to kill off 25% of people? Through what? Starvation?
Yeah. Well, attrition, I don't have, because the population of the world has doubled in my lifetime. That makes you think. But it's not because all those more people are being born so much as it's because people live twice as long, so that's what did it.
Oh my God, there's so many people that I talk to that say, there are way too many people on Earth.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? I said, we have more resources now per person than ever before in history. Then why do people starve?
Politics.
Why do people starve?
In my lifetime, this is the first time, this is conjecture sort of, but I'm sure it's true. In my lifetime, it's the first time that there's been enough food to feed everybody in the world.
Absolutely.
So if anybody's going hungry, and there are people going hungry, there are people starving, but it's not because there's not enough food, it's because of politics.
Right. We throw away food, and people say, oh my God, climate change is going to kill everybody and this and that. See, young progressives, you want to empower the government to solve all your problems and protect your life. Okay. You're afraid of climate change? What has been the single greatest killer, cause of mortality? Is it climate related or is it governments? You make a government too powerful, it will kill you way quicker than climate change will.
Yeah.
You think you'll be able to just sit on your farm or somebody else's, the state's farm, and play your guitar? No, no, no.
Yeah.
The ruling class does not like your guitar playing that much. You will go crush rocks, and then you will go back to the gulag.
Yeah. You have to be willing to absolutely not think at all to believe all this crap.
I mean, I was brought up with immense teaching about the Holocaust.
I guess. Yeah.
And I mean, it was jammed down my throat. And the one thing, and also a tenet of Judaism, which is unique to Judaism, is questioning your faith, questioning authority vis-a-vis faith. God affirms your faith. It's actually, if you're not questioning God and what his rules are and why should I do this, you're not actually believing.
Yeah, I can.
You're not following.
I feel that way myself.
And so through all of that, it led me to realize the greatest threat to my well-being is and will always be people in positions of authority above me. So why on earth would I want to expand the bureaucratic state? Why on earth would I want to cede more power to the government? I want to limit the government as much as I can to ensure that I am as safe as possible.
Yeah.
All those people who don't want people to own guns or you don't want to own guns, you don't have to. But if somebody breaks in your house and tries to murder you, you have to wait on the police. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
To your point on self-reliance, if you really want to be self-reliant, stop looking to the government because they will not protect you when it comes down to it.
And I'm not even knocking the police, although issues here and there, but yeah, they're so hamstrung, even call the police. They may not get there very quick. And when they get there, they're hamstrung. Well, I can't go in there because, I didn't get permission.
I was at work one day and our alarm went off. And so I rushed home. The alarm's gone off, I turn it off. I don't know if somebody's in my house. The police show up. 2 women get out, police officers. They say, have you been inside? No. Can you go look and make sure? They say, can you? Look, I don't have a gun. Well, we don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why are you even here? You're not even going to do anything. So even in its most basic level, it doesn't even accomplish what you want it to accomplish.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a fire in your house, chances are by the time the fire department gets there, you've lost at least a quarter of your house.
Yes.
No, I'm not advocating for privatizing the fire department.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to require that. That may be the one government thing that's probably as good as it gets. I haven't done.
What's your people who are proponents of socialized medicine? They say, well, we have social services like the fire department. What do you want to do? Privatize that? Why is that any different? What's your counter argument to that?
why wouldn't you privatize the fire department? Is what you
Right. If you're anti-socialized healthcare, why
Oh,
wouldn't you be anti-socialized, goods like the fire department?
well, frankly, that's an interesting question. It's just that I'll say this for fire departments as I know them, and I know them here. Uh, I don't know how they could be better. They could be possibly less expensive, but we want to make them good first. We'll worry about the expense later. We look at socialized medicine, and it's even around the world, not just in this country, it's pretty damn pathetic.
Hmm.
So why would I want more socialized medicine that doesn't work well? And why would I want to privatize the fire department that works well the way it is? Um, Philosophically, it's a good question, but practically speaking, fire departments work and socialized medicine doesn't.
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer.
But no, I mean, it is funny because people talk about. I mention when I'm having discussions, I'll say build roads. Governments build roads. We
Mhm.
don't all build a road in front of our house. That would be pointless. Uh, but the interesting, funny thing is, most roads don't get built by government; they get paid for by taxes as the government collected. Then they pay a contractor. So very little road building is even done publicly, really. Just paid for publicly.
It's funny when I talk to progressives that I know, and they say, yeah, we have six and a half,
Okay.
we have 6.5.
Pardon me a moment here. Why would she be doing this? Okay, we were sort of rudely interrupted because Toby needed to go potty. Speaking of people who need to be taken care of, Toby. But anyway, so yeah, I think we've gone about long enough here anyway, although we could go quite a bit longer, maybe another time. But
Absolutely.
glad to have you here. And
Pleasure
just
talking.
between just the two of us, we solved every problem in the world.
I think so.
Yeah, so.
Now we have to, next time we'll talk about implementation.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you everybody who is listening, and we'll get you next time. See ya.
Bye.
Somebody once said, "To thine own self be true." Sounds great in theory, but that's a lot of damned work. It's a whole lot easier to just be led, to think what you're told to think and live how you're told to live, like who you're told to like, dislike who you're told to dislike. So much easier. But that's not what America is about. That's not what anybody should be about. To thine own self be true. It's a lot of damned work. You have to think. You have to doubt yourself. Oh my God. You have to question yourself. Oh, please, no. Yes. To thine own self be true and do all it takes to do that.